That's completely up
No,
to you.
YouTube is live.
Okay. Which means, particularly with lawyers, we got to be careful because everything's being recorded.
Oh yeah, no, I'm used to that at this
Oh, you
point
are?
in my life. Yeah.
If you're ready, give me the thumbs up.
Thumbs up. This is the mayor of the airwaves. Good morning. Great to have you listening with us, folks. Patrick Grall is in from the Grall Law Group. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing great. Good to be here with you.
How's your
today.
wonderful dad?
My dad's doing great.
He's kind of like retired or semi-retired now.
He's basically retired now. He putzes around the office every now and then if there's something he wants to get involved with.
And he's a chip. You're a chip off the old block, that's for sure.
I appreciate you saying that. That's an honor.
Guy.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, he's a
Your
great
dad's
guy.
one of the good guys, you know. And Jesse Larson is with us today. Good morning, Jesse Larson.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming in here. All right. So before we went on, we were talking about personal, what was it, public adjusters.
Yes, you had
A
mentioned
lot of
the
people are
public
not
adjusters.
aware that the insurance companies are not always our advocates. For instance, during the hurricane, Nationwide was not on my side. They offered me my deductible. Well, they said it was about the damage done was about my deductible. No one had even been there physically. Then they sent some guy down from the Carolinas who had a barbecue business on the side, and he said, well, about $60,000 coming or whatever. So I got my $60,000, and then these public adjusters came down and wanted to advertise with me. Otherwise, I may not have known about this. And his dad, he had worked for the insurance company, but his dad had lost his home, and they offered him a certain amount. He said, "That's all you're going to offer my dad? You got to offer you got to give my dad more than that." Well, he realized that everybody is somebody's dad or mom or whatever he said, so he went over to the other side of the fence, representing people. And people need to know that within 4 years time after you get your first check from the insurance company, you have up to 4 years to ask for more. Public adjuster doesn't cost you anything. You pay him 10% of what you're going to get. Mine got me an extra like $90,000, and so the insurance companies are not always on our side, are they?
And that's correct, Rhett. And public adjusters have their place in homeowners claims. Attorneys like myself and Jesse Larson here have their place in a lot of other negligence claims where people just aren't necessarily being treated fairly by the insurance company. When we get involved, we can't force the insurance company to pay anything but what is fair to a person. So, they'll offer a certain amount to an unrepresented person, but then when someone who comes in and has the knowledge and experience to know what that person is actually entitled to asks for it, the insurance company has to offer them what they should have offered them to begin with.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think it's fair to say. And if you can't say it, because you're an attorney, I can say it, and this is the truth. As far as I know, the insurance companies always give you less than you're actually deserving, which means a red flag should go up. When something's going down, get yourself an attorney or get yourself a public adjuster, whatever you're going to need to be compensated.
And it's true. That's the reason most of the people come to us, Rhett, is because they've been either offered something that they don't feel is fair by an insurance company, or they just feel that they haven't been treated fairly. The other side in this equation always ends up with somebody to represent them by way of an insurance adjuster. But then the insurance companies, in a sense, kind of get offended if the other side goes and gets someone to help them, the injured person. Well, there should be a level playing field here, and that's what we do when we get involved, is come in and try to level the playing field between both sides.
Back, my father was an attorney at law graduate at Syracuse, and he was killed in a violent car accident. The lumber truck had lost its brakes. Now, the lumber truck was sort of working for the U.S. paper, but they had no insurance. So my brother and I, probably in a perfect world, would have gotten at least back then, 1958, $20 million, which might have been to my demise too. I mean, God works in mysterious ways. I mean, we know about trust fund babies and something. I have to work for a living, and I think it's been pretty good for me. But nonetheless, here's this 5-year-old, and make no mistake, when you lose your dad early on, it has a profound effect for your whole life. And I guess there had been an attorney, a Jewish man, Rosenfeld, I believe, in Poughkeepsie, New York, and then he'd gotten cancer and died, so it got all screwed up. And we ended up getting nothing except an insurance of, I think it was 60 grand or something from an insurance company or something. But you can't go backwards on something like that, can you? I mean, sometimes I think about it, I think, I'd like to just dig that thing up, that it was really handled improperly for a 5-year-old to go through that. But the law of, what do you call that?
It depends on which law in particular you're talking about. There's statute of limitations
what I mean,
issues
statute
and
of
other
limitations.
issues.
But you would think the government would be there to protect a 5-year-old.
You would hope so, Red, but it's just not always the case.
Yeah. Well, things are changing, hopefully for the better.
Yes.
Now, what is personal injury protection, or PIP?
Okay. Personal injury protection, which we often refer to as PIP, is a type of automobile coverage that you're required to carry under Florida law if you own a registered vehicle in the state. And so there's really two types of coverages that by law you're required to carry, and that's the PIP, and it's also property damage. So PIP protects yourself if you get involved in an accident. It pays 80% of your medical bills up to $10,000 in most situations. It can be limited to $2,500 sometimes, or it pays 60% of your lost wages up to those same amounts, or a combination of the two.
Okay.
So it's basically, when you hear people talk about no-fault insurance, they say we're a no-fault state, they're really referring to the PIP, the fact that you get your own medical bills paid through your own company.
So what's behind those? Because, in the old days when I was growing up, before you were a twinkle in your dad's eye, you had an accident, you and I have an accident, and I sue you for my injury. Okay, so your insurance company has to pay me. Now we sue my own insurance company.
Right. Well,
it's bizarre. What somebody legislated that, and you got to follow the money trail. So what's behind that decision?
Well, I believe when it started years ago now, and then PIP is pretty common throughout most of the United States. Other states have started backtracking from PIP and are actually going to mandatory bodily injury coverage instead, which we can talk about in a few minutes.
Okay.
But the PIP and the reasoning behind it was, they figured it would prevent lawsuits after auto accidents. If people could just go get the treatment that they needed through their own insurance company, they wouldn't have to sue the other side to get the money to pay for their care. And in certain situations, it works very well. You go and you get the treatment you need. If it's a minor injury and you don't require much treatment, that's great. You get better. You don't really have to worry about pursuing the other side or the other side's insurance carrier. The problem is in those cases where it's not enough. $10,000, as we all know, a trip to the hospital and CAT scans and X-rays and all these diagnostic testing, that can be gone very quickly.
Oh, you can spend $30,000 in 2 nights.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
We see bills
Crazy.
from these hospitals in the area that are much higher than that. And so what happens, though, then, is because we don't have mandatory bodily injury liability coverage, which means the coverage that the other side would be required to carry to protect someone that they injure, is you go through that $10,000, then if the other party that causes the accident doesn't have bodily injury coverage, you might be stuck as an injured person owing these substantial bills and just adding insult to injury. And there might be nothing you can do about it. And so PIP has its benefits, but they are limited. It's been in place for a long time now. Every time it comes up, there's a fight to do away with it. But there's so many different moving parts between the lawyers, the doctors, the chiropractors, the insurance agency. There's all bits and pieces of it that each of them kind of like. And so nobody's been able to get on the same page. They tried to fix it a few years ago, and in my opinion, they made the problem worse. And so it's a topic that I don't know that it's going anywhere soon, but it may.
I don't have a lot of confidence in the government. I was out to the mall last night talking to the manager of Books A Million.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she said they've made a new law that in order to be a salaried worker, you have to make $50,000 or more. So this is the dumb way the government thinks. Oh, we're going to raise it so people will make more money. She said it's just the opposite. Now, I was only working 8 hours a day. Now I'm working 13 hours a day because they pay me an hourly wage, and I can't, because I'm not going to make $50,000. I never did. So now I'm no longer a salaried employee.
Right.
I wish the government would just get their hands out of all this. It's so arrogant.
Right. Well, it's arrogant in a lot of cases. It's
take care of
misguided.
The streets, take care of the essentials but the government's just going way overboard.
Right.
No wonder a lot of people are libertarians today.
No, absolutely. So.
Now, I want to ask you this though. So, what sort of people call the Grall Law Group?
Sure. We represent people that are injured due to someone else's negligence. So we get calls a lot of times from people who are involved when they're injured in an automobile accident. if they're injured in some sort of trip and fall or other injury that can really just be caused for any reason by another person. And so those are the people that call us, and we screen a lot of calls, and we always do our best to make sure they're legitimate cases. We do our due diligence, and we find that a lot of times people are injured due to no fault of their own, and they just need help. They just need some guidance. They need to understand the process, because the other side, especially when there's an insurance company involved, they have professionals that are working on it to protect their interest. So the injured people need someone to protect their interest as well.
We're talking with Patrick Grall from Grall Law Group. Got to take a break, then we'll come back. After an accident, what insurance information do you give to the hospital or your doctor? Why is it a good idea to carry BI, or bodily injury liability insurance? What happens if the at-fault driver injures someone but does not have bodily injury liability insurance? We'll be right back with Patrick Grall from the Law Group. This is Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves. It's not over yet.
Give me 60 seconds. I'm going to save the file and we can start again.
Yeah, no, as we get to know each other better, if you ever like one of these interviews you do, particularly, you can have it sent to you.
Okay.
And you could, something that really was good, or if you want to put one together sometime, then you could take, let's say let's do a condensed one that's only a few minutes, 3 minutes or something, or 5 minutes. Then you could post that on your webpage, and then people,
Right. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, it's like adding color. It's adding another dimension.
Right. No, absolutely. And we're getting more and more into the Facebook
You have
still,
to.
and posting there, and so the other places.
I'll be hitting your sister
Go
up for
easy.
advertising on Facebook.
Yeah.
It works. What I did was, how I found this out? Is altruistically. There's a little ice cream stand. Have you been to Sweet Kiss yet?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Really good, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, that's the best gelato I've ever had. Okay. So I go in there. They're from Hungary. The lady had gone through a divorce. She came here with her daughter, and they started this. They're struggling. So I go in there, and so I'm just kind of, maybe I can help you succeed, and then later on you can become a client, which they now are. But first I gave them free, I promoted them like heck on Facebook and on my radio show. She said, well, one weekend, so we have a line out the door and down the street. She said 97% of the people are saying they heard about us on your radio show or your Facebook postings. So all of a sudden I go, cha-ching. I go, okay, now I've got Riverside Theater, I've got all these theaters, all these other doctors, Dr. Timianese, all these people are compensating me now. And who would have ever thought? I mean, a year ago, you said, charge for Facebook? How could I do that?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's amazing how things are changing. But anyway, so anyway, I don't know why I told you this story, but okay, let's go. Ready? Got Shane in there, by the way. This is the mayor of the airwaves. Another beautiful day in paradise. You and I getting savvy about law. I'm like talking to Patrick Grall from the Grall Law Group. I've known his dad for years. And I have to say, Patrick, I like the way you look at me square in the eye. My Aunt Hattie would have liked you. Well, when you're looking at me and you look at me so square in the eye, we're talking about this insurance stuff, I say, okay, so you can't really manipulate this or be deceptive, because it is your job as my advocate. If I'm in a car accident or I have bodily harm or I'm injured at someone else's negligence, I come to see you. It's not like you can take advantage of the situation. I mean, I think some people perceive attorneys, oh, I got to get this attorney to take advantage. No, it's by the letter of the law, correct?
That's correct, Rhett. And what I always stress to potential clients when I meet with them is that I'm working for them, and I only get paid if I make a recovery for them, because we work on a contingent fee basis. And so it's in everyone's best interest for me and for our law firm to work as hard as possible to help them through this situation. So there's no taking advantage. It's literally helping that person to get what they are
like taking
entitled
advantage
to.
of the insurance company. You don't do that either.
No, and I can
It's
tell
by
you
the letter of the law.
Absolutely, Rhett. And I can tell you, I've done this for almost 9 years now. There's no taking advantage of an insurance company. They're going to do what they're going to whatever they
You have to
decide
go
they
right
want to
here. It
pay.
says now your client may not read this, but right here it says you will pay this amount if such and such happens.
Right, and so
Fork it over, bucko.
insurance companies, right? The only way to keep them honest, so to speak, is to take a case to trial. And if they won't offer what we believe to be a fair recovery, and our client wants us to, the final step is a trial.
Well, I was shocked when after the hurricanes. I know this is a different kind of insurance, but they offered me so little compared to what I got when my public adjuster came in,
Right.
and I was like, wow. And here I thought, they advertised Nationwide is on your side. They weren't on my side. Now, being an advocate for common people like myself, it must feel pretty good knowing you're coming to work and somebody who has had bodily injury and maybe will be in a wheelchair for the rest of their life, or they're going to limp around or be in pain. I don't know if you had any football injuries from school or whatever it might be. And so I remember when I was in a car accident once, I had slurred speech for literally 2 years, a little slurred. No one ever noticed. I stayed on the air. But a month after the accident is when the pain started to come out, Now, thank God it was light enough that I got healed, but it must feel pretty good about being an attorney like that.
It really does, Rhett. People come to us at the worst times in their lives. We meet with people after they've lost a loved one, or they are catastrophically injured, or they're just going through an injury that is affecting their quality of life in some way. And, they're looking for guidance, they're looking for help, they're looking for answers. And to be able to provide them with that comfort, it's very rewarding.
I would think so. All right, some other questions we promised our listeners we would broach. After an accident, Patrick Grall, what insurance information do I give to the hospital and my doctors?
Yes, this is a situation that is often misunderstood by people because the common person doesn't understand what PIP is. They say, well, I have health insurance. This should all just go through my health insurance. And, that's not the case. Florida law says that the auto insurance, if you're in an automobile accident, it is primary. And so you always have to give your own auto insurance information to the hospital, but always make sure that you give them your health insurance information if you have that as well, so that it can be billed as a backup.
Okay. All right. Why is it a good idea to carry bodily injury liability insurance?
Okay. Bodily injury liability insurance, you purchase on your own policy to protect you from being sued or a claim being brought against you if you injure someone else. And so you want to make sure that you adequately protect your own assets and carry that coverage. But one of the other most important reasons I would suggest carrying it is because you can carry what we call uninsured motorist coverage up to the amount of your bodily injury coverage. So basically what the law says is
you got to insure extra to take care of the guy that's not doing the insurance.
Well, you're exactly in a way, but you can't protect yourself more than you can protect someone else, is what it's saying. So the bodily injury coverage protects the person you might injure, but if someone else injures you, the uninsured motorist coverage, or also known as underinsured motorist coverage, you can recover from if the other person doesn't have enough coverage to protect you. So it's a very important coverage. I always suggest, buy as much uninsured motorist coverage as you can afford and you're comfortable with doing, because the other people out there on the roadways, they're not buying the bodily injury coverage to protect you if you get hurt.
And but we are insured. I mean, we're all insurance poor. I mean, it's crazy what I spend on insurance monthly. I've been with life insurance and then health insurance and car insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. And uninsured motorist.
Some assurance that I'm going to be able to pay the insurance.
Well, an uninsured motorist coverage is actually a pretty inexpensive type of coverage, but you can't buy it unless you have bodily injury coverage as well. But it's important to have this insurance because, like I said, so many other people out there, the people that are driving around causing accidents are often the ones that don't have any insurance at all.
I had a friend of mine, he owns a restaurant in town. I won't say who it was, but recently he was at a red light and this lady bumped into his bumper and they got out and she said, you backed up into me. He said, no, I didn't. She said, oh, yes, you did. You backed up into me and you're going to either have to pay me now or I'm going to go, And he said, well, okay, but look up there. There's a camera. It has it all up. She got in her car and drove off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
you got to be careful today. There's a lot of.
You do have to be careful, and unfortunately, people in.
Is it best not to get out of the car until the police arrive, perhaps?
It depends. If you're if it's a more of a serious accident, you might want to just remain in the car until the EMTs get there and make sure you're taken care of. But for the most part, if it's minor accidents, people pull off the side of the road. And it really comes down to, do you feel safe in doing so? Obviously, here in Univer County, we've had an issue with someone bumping people and then, harassing women, I believe is what was going on here
really?
recently.
Oh, I hadn't heard of that.
And yeah, that was just in the last month or so. It was in the news. And that happens in other places too. People who are up to no good, they look for a way to get someone to stop so that they can do whatever it is that they might be intending to do.
Yeah, be very careful.
So you do have to be careful. And so I would suggest, if someone hits you and causes an accident, call 911, get on the cell phone with them so that at least an officer is, on the way if you do happen to get out of the vehicle and talk to the other person.
Do you feel jaded sometimes being in the industry you're in, that, there are people who blatantly in the insurance business that are deceptive?
Yeah, you do. You get a little bit jaded. Nothing really surprises you anymore after you're in this business for a while. We see just about everything. So you really just, you get used to it. You see everything and nothing's a shock anymore.
It's hard for somebody like Jacob Dylan, who has a famous dad like Bob Dylan, to walk in the shadow. Now, your dad set the bar pretty dang high.
Yes.
Is that difficult for you? Because I'm glad you look, I've only met you a couple times, but you look me square in the eye, and you sum somebody up, and I like you too. You're like your dad. But that's got, your dad just he has a pure, clean reputation.
Yeah. No, I'm honored to be my dad's child. I mean, I truly am.
You should be happy you had a son like you too.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, Rhett. Yeah. But I like to think that both he and my mom, they went that extra mile as we were growing up to make sure we were raised the right way.
How many kids?
There's 8 kids.
8 kids.
Yeah, there's 8
I know
kids.
your mom used to tell me years ago, she said, I listen to your show every day. I hope she still does once in a while.
She does. She does.
Does she really?
Absolutely.
That's pretty honorable to have a mom of 8 children that listens to your show regularly.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, you have good parentage. It shows. So, but anyway, Patrick, it's good to see you again from the Grall Law Group. Got a phone number, by the way, memorized?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 772-569-0000.
Again?
772-569-0000.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in, Patrick. And Jesse Larson, good to meet you. And I know you'll be back with some frequency, I hope.
I will.
Handsome young man, attorney, and you've been with the Grall Group for a little over a year.
Correct, sir.
Congratulations. It's a good group to be a part of.
Thank you. Yeah, no, when I was offered the job there, I was terribly excited. Reputation in this town is fantastic, and they've earned it.
Yeah. Are you a Florida boy, or where are you from?
Let's see. I was born in upstate New York.
Where?
I was born in it's a town called Wyndham, near Hunter
Wyndham.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to sing at Hunter Mountain with my guitar at the pit down there with the circular bar. Not circular bar, the circular fireplace.
I don't believe you.
Yes.
Really?
That's where I'm from. I was born in Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
Then lived in Albany, Schenectady, Troy. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
One of the guys playing the guitar. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. That was me.
Yeah. My mom was a ski instructor on Hunter Mountain.
Really?
Yeah.
Great area.
Yeah. I was only there till I was 7, though. My family moved down to St. Lucie County when I was 7 years old. So I've lived here most of my life.
You got down there when nobody was there.
Yep. Well, it was just starting to grow. It was really before that big boom.
Things are moving exponentially down there now.
Yes, they are.
I like to go to the Longhorn.
Oh, down there in Jensen?
No, the one in St. Lucie. Was it Tradition?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Down, of course, in not Jensen, but Stewart. I like to go to Luna, the Italian restaurant downtown. That's a great downtown. Did you ever get down there?
I haven't been to that one.
You need to get downtown. Downtown Stewart is really a nice little village. Well, anyway, nice to have met you, Jesse Larson.
All right. Thanks for having me.
God bless you. Good luck. Patrick Grall from the Grall Law Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rhett. Always a pleasure.
This is the mayor of the airways. Hey, who's looking out for you, baby?
All right. Very nice.
Hey, thanks, guys.
No, we appreciate it, Rhett. It was great to be here today.
You can always get that sent to you from MP3, and if you decided to, an extra service will give you no charge. You could say, well, we'd like this edited out or this little edit, blah, 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 blah. You can come in here and work with him, and he'll snip electronically,
Perfect.
Put together, if you so want them.
No, I will talk to my sisters about that. And always a pleasure.
It's
so looking forward
being back
Good luck
and
to
getting
you
this guy
too.
on here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sure you do fine.
Well, now I have something to shoot for here.
All right, guys.
See ya.
Have a nice weekend.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Now, I brought the glasses up there, and now I have new glasses back there. I don't need to-
Way. You had, yeah, that thing was like a 5-pack, and that's the second one I've seen you buy.
Yeah.
There has to be 10 glasses floating around here somewhere.
I think they walk. But
Unless somebody borrows them in the studio and wears them out.
I had this back here last week. I pulled this thing out. And that's why, like I had one of these things. I had this idea too. I was going to start writing down a certain something to just for my personal. I took one of these, I put it there, and it was there for about a week. It and my original notes was gone. Now, who would take this thing,
That's the thing. It's like the reading glasses and that little book. Why would somebody take something like that?
Yeah.
That's, if you're going to take something, take the blank
You were
computer.
running to glasses, extras, put them there, would you? I gotta go meet that guy now. Barbara wants me to call.
That guy?